Activists amassed on the streets of Calgary to recognize Al-Quds-day. Al-Quds-day takes place on the last Friday of the holy month of Ramadan and represents defiant opposition to the Zionist colonization of Palestine. Activists say that the frequent violations of international law and international morality exhibited by Israel behooves the Canadian government to take a less one-sided approach to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Such activists call on the Canadian government to emulate the more moral foreign policies of states such as Iran, which refuses to recognize and legitimize apartheid-like regimes, such as the one that currently unlawfully occupies al-Quds.
If today we still had capital punishment on the books in Canada, the act of our Prime Minister putting the interests of Israel above the interests of Canadians would be considered a treasonous act. And if capital punishment was on the books, he could be hung for his crimes.
They're lobbying groups in the way that they get into our media and the way that they try to take away from the truth and from the journalists reporting the truth and everything. It's seen very clearly in Canadian society and Canadian journalism. So, and it's something that needs to stop because Canada needs to work for its own interests, not for the interest of a country that's clearly an occupier, clearly unjust.
Activists say that the decolonization of Palestine is a key to world peace, arguing that the conflict between indigenous Palestinians and mostly Euro-American Jewish colonizers represents a microcosm of what they call the broader Zionist-induced clash of civilizations between the imperialist West and those proponents of decolonization in the resistance bloc.
Zionism is a belief that, Israel has a right to as much land as possible, that it's their land, they don't need to share it whatsoever, that they have supremacy over the land. I mean, really, to some extent, it's a form of white supremacy.
The Canadian government maintains that its Middle East policy is motivated by concerns with human rights and considerations of what is in the Canadian national interest. But activists say that if that was the case, then Canada would be denouncing Israel as a terroristic human rights violator. Activists question how it serves the Canadian national interest to be making Canada increasingly unpopular in the world by siding with Israel. Joshua Blakeney, Press TV, Calgary.